Alright everyone, so today I wanted to talk about giving yourself the best possible chance to get as good of an item as you possibly can when it comes to crafting, and I really specifically wanted to talk about the Swift Parry set today, and the reason why is because this is going to be the most valuable of the four sets. It's going to require the most valuable material as well, which is going to be the most difficult one to come by, and that's going to be the core hammers. And the reason why this material is separated from the other ones is because the core hammers can only be acquired from events and tournaments. There's no consistent way to be able to get these in-game, so if there's no events or tournaments running that give these out as a reward, then you're just gonna have to wait longer until you can find a source to get them. Everything else, like the faction war items, you can get these every single day when your keys refresh for faction wars. Then you've got the Magisteel, which is from Classic Arena. Of course, you get a good amount of arena tokens every day. They refresh every hour, so there's always going to be consistent methods to get the other crafting materials. That's what separates the Forge Hammers, and it makes sense. Obviously, the Swift Parry set is super good. It used to be a platinum exclusive set, and now everybody has the chance to be able to craft them, but you're not really going to have a ton of opportunities. And if you take a look at the events that we've got going right now, you'll see that you can end up getting a couple of core hammers. Let's see, this one has 5 core hammers at 2,000. And then if you take a look at some of the other ones, I don't know if the Dungeon Divers does have it, 5 core hammers at 1,800. And then the Champion Training also has 5 core hammers at 10,500. But you can see you're only getting 5 core hammers from each one of these events, and that's only half as many as you need in order to craft a 5 through 6 star Swift Parry. So it's not like you're going to be able to craft a ton of these. They're going to be very, very limited. Now, what that means is you want to give yourself the best possible chance of getting something good from this as you can, and you're going to do that with charms. And I wanted to really guide you guys through which charms specifically you want to use for the Swift Parry set. And I'll say right now, if you've got the rank charms and you've got the rarity charms, if you have any of these available to you, always use them on the 5 through 6 star Swift Parry. You could also use them on the deflection if you want to, but me personally right now I'm really going to be going for trying to craft these Swift Parry sets because I think it's the more valuable set for me personally, but they are absolutely not going to go to waste. Where they would go to waste is if you end up using them on like the 4 through 5 star, or if you end up using them on resilience or perception items. These are much more easy in order to come by the materials to craft them, so you're just not going to get enough of these rank up and rarity charms in order to use them on a whole bunch of other stuff. You want to save them for the Swift Parry and the deflection set, so you would end up using those right there. Now, where things get a little bit tricky here is the type charms, and I've really been thinking about this very hard because, you know, I was thinking, you know, wouldn't you want to go with the gauntlets, the chest plate, or the boots? And I actually don't think that that's the right answer. I think it's actually quite the opposite. I think you would much rather use one of these for a weapon, a helmet, or a shield, and I'll tell you guys the logic and the reasoning behind that, and I think this is probably the most important part of the video. That's because if you take a look here, the Swift Parry is a 4-piece set, which means that you're going to need 4 pieces in order to use the set. And if you end up going to equipment, your top row here, which is going to be your weapon, your helmet, and your shield, these are always going to have the same main stats. They're never going to be different. It's always going to be flat attack on a weapon, flat HP on a helmet, and flat defense on a shield. And what that means is that eliminates a lot of the hassle of having to get a bunch of different drops to make sure that you get the right main stat, because you know, we all know the struggle with, like, you know, boots, for example, where if boots don't have speed, you're probably not going to use them. Like if they roll flat attack or, you know, flat defense, something along those lines, it doesn't matter what the substats are, they're just not going to be worth using. You don't encounter that problem with the weapon, the helmet, and the shields because they always have the same main stat. What that means is that on average it's going to take less crafts in order to actually get something really good. Whereas if you decide to go with gloves, chest, or boots, it's going to take a lot more crafts because not only do you have to worry about the substats, but you also have to worry about making sure that you get the right main stat as well. Now, obviously, a 4 set is still going to require you to not just have a weapon, helmet, and a shield. You're going to have to at least one of the other 3 pieces, whether it is a, you know, gloves, chest, or boots. It's kind of going to depend on whichever one you end up getting that is good stats and works well for you. But the thing is, by the time that you end up getting, you know, a weapon, helmet, and a shield, you'll probably have gotten at least one decent one that is a, you know, gloves, chest, or boots that you'll be able to use. So out of your 4 set, you're going to have to craft a lot less items of the weapons, helmets, and shield category to take up 3 out of the 4 things that you need for the set. you know, compared to if you were to use a lot of the middle row here, the gloves, chest, and the boots. You're just going to need to craft way more of these. So I think I'm really leaning more towards, for the type charms here, the weapon, helmet, and the shield actually being what you want to aim for. And notice that these, it's not like they're a game changer or a game breaker either. It's not like it guarantees that you get a weapon or it guarantees that you end up getting a helmet. All it does is double the chances of you getting a weapon, helmet, or a shield. You know, so if you've got a 1 in 6 chance to get every single piece individually, now you have a bit higher chance to get a helmet, but, you know, you still have a good chance to get something else, and it's not like it's always going to give you a helmet or it's always going to give you a shield. So, you know, it doesn't make as big of a difference for this one here if you decide to go with something else, but I still think leaning towards using the top 3 here, the weapon, helmet, and the shield, is going to be more advantageous than the gauntlets, chest plates, or the boots. But this is not really as big of a difference as like forgetting to use the rank or the rarity charms. Like if you forget to use these, you now have downgraded your ability to get a good item by a significant amount, because just using these 2 right here is now all of a sudden going to double your chances of getting epics and legendaries, up to 50% for an epic and 15% for a legendary. And on top of that, you now have a 50% chance to get a 6-star, whereas before you only had a 25% chance to get a 6-star. And given that these core hammers are so difficult to come by, you want to make sure to give yourself the best chance of that as you can. Now, the very last charm that I want to talk about here, specifically when it comes to the set that I'm talking about, the Swift Parry set, is the substat charm. And this one right here also requires a little bit of thinking. Now, obviously, speed is just like the thing, you know, right off the top of your head, you think, okay, obviously speed is going to be the best one. And yes, it is definitely going to be the best one for sure. But I've noticed here that it doesn't seem like PARRY gives these out evenly. Look at how many of these HP charms that I have compared to everything else. It seems like PARRY, I don't know if it's the loot table, maybe I just got super unlucky. I really have no clue yet. Crafting has not been out long enough for me to really 100% determine this, but you know, it's safe to say that we're not going to have enough speed charms to just use these every single time that you want. So you want to think to yourself, like, besides speed, what would be the perfect 4 stats for you to get on one of these pieces of gear? And that would probably be, like on a weapon, it would be, you know, speed, crit chance, crit damage, and then, you know, attack percent. Or if it's not an attack champion, you know, defense percent, or something along those lines, right? Not necessarily just on a weapon, on any piece of gear, right? Those are going to be the types of stats that you want. What are the type of things that you probably don't want? You don't want flat stats. You probably don't want resist, although you might. It kind of depends on your team and what you're going for. But as long as you end up using one of these charms, you know, you have to think to yourself, what are the 4 best stats that I could have on my piece of equipment, whatever it is that I'm crafting? As long as I use a charm that is one of those 4 stats that you want, that's going to be fine. And it's not a guarantee either. This one is pretty significant, though, because it makes it a 50% chance of you getting that stat or not. But you're going to roll 4 stats on an item anyway, so, you know, there's a reasonable chance that you're going to get speed even if you don't end up getting or end up using one of these charms. But I would say, like, it's totally fine to use a speed charm. It's totally fine to use a crit rate charm, a crit damage charm, and kind of depending on the piece of gear that you're using, maybe like an attack percent or a defense percent one as well. So, you know, those ones are a bit more flexible. Anyway, this is really specifically, though, for the Swift Parry gear. Things change quite a bit when it comes to the resilience and the perception gear, because these do not use the very limited core hammers, so you want to be much more picky with the charms when it comes to the bottom 2 gear sets than the top ones. When you're crafting the stuff at the top, the number one thing to take away from this video, if everything else was maybe a little bit too much, is use your charms. Craft a 5 through 6 star and use your charms. This is the best possible stuff you can craft right now. You want to give yourself the best chance you can to get something good, so it's totally okay to use your good charms for this gear. Anyway, that's going to be about it for this video, though. I really hope that you guys enjoyed and were able to take something away from this. And if you did enjoy and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to toss a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine, so thank you so much to all of you guys who decided to do that. And more videos should be popping up on the screen right about now, or in the suggested videos to your right or below. Feel free to check them out. Over 350 guides, tutorials, and other fun stuff for the game on the channel. But if not, have a great day, everyone. Take care, and until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.